So I wanted to ask the question, is Joe Rogan bad? Um, Bad could have a lot of different meanings. Like bad could mean a lot of different things. First of all, I just want to make this clear. I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think Joe Rogan is like an evil doer, some immoral person. That's not how I'm trying to say like bad. Um, I mean, I'm a liberal personally. I'm a liberal, so I talk about people sometimes from a perspective of um, do I agree with them or disagree with them more when I say good or bad in this scenario. Like, I think Donald Trump is a bad person because I disagree with him on important things, and I think he's ethically dubious, and I think he's an authoritarian, so I think Donald Trump's a bad person. I feel a similar way about Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is alt-right. I would say politically Joe Rogan is alt-right, which is kind of a new phenomenon in the past, 30 years or whatever. Alt-right, I think, is like a Generation X Republican. I think a lot of Generation X Republicans you could call alt-right, meaning they're basically pro-weed and they're, you know, pro-choice or something, but they're like, maybe they're even pro-universal health care, but on the other issues, they are Republican. I think Joe Rogan is a Republican. Even though he voted for Bernie Sanders, I think he's a Republican. Um, why do I say he's Republican? Because he was against Hillary Clinton and he was against Joe Biden. And if you're against Hillary Clinton, you're against Joe Biden, then I consider you a Republican because they're pretty much standard bearers of the party. And if you're against the Democratic Party, that means you're for the Republican Party. You can't be against the Democratic Party and be for the Green Party, because if you're voting for the Green Party, you're helping Republicans. To vote for the Green Party is to help for the Republicans. Um, and Joe Rogan's had a lot of, I don't just mean politics, I mean, Joe Rogan's had a lot of controversies in his career and in his life. Joe Rogan has said racist things. Joe Rogan has said sexist things. And just for the fact that he said so many racist and sexist things, um, that's why he's not, well, it makes him a bad person. I mean, again, I'm not saying like he's evil or whatever. I'm just saying he's a bad person because he said racist and sexist things. I watched one of his Netflix special in like 2017 or whatever. It was right after the 2016 election, and the way he talked about Hillary Clinton, he was like, "Oh, she lost because she barks like a dog." That's a sexist thing to say. It's a sexist thing to say that someone lost because they bark like a dog. Um, that's just sexist. So I'm not going to explain why because it's obvious. And if you don't get the dog whistle or whatever, that's something you need to look up to understand. Joe Rogan is a sexist, and Joe Rogan has said racist things. I actually don't think Joe Rogan's racist, but I think he said uh, the wrong words you can't say, which is if you use racist terminology, you're pretty close to a racist. I don't think he is a racist, but he's not like part of the KKK or something, but like he said some things that are so insensitive that he should get knocked down a few notches for saying them. I don't think he should be canceled on Spotify. I don't think he should be taken off YouTube or Spotify because there's a lot worse people on YouTube and Spotify than Joe Rogan. There's like you had Russia Today was recently on YouTube, just like a month ago. Russia Today was on RT was on YouTube, just sitting there. A propaganda arm of the Putin administration, of the Putin government, was on YouTube. A terrorist organization. They had a terrorist organization on YouTube, which I think of Russians as terrorists because they're destroying Kyiv in Ukraine right now. They're just destroying Ukraine with bombs and missiles and guns. So, but Joe Rogan's an interesting case. I think I made a video about Jordan Peterson probably about 3 years ago, and I said it was a critique of an article about Jordan Peterson. I don't remember what I said about him, I feel similar to Joe Rogan as how I feel about Jordan Peterson, but Joe Rogan has interest. I will say he has interesting things to say, even though I disagree with him. In that sense, he reminds me of Rush Limbaugh. And I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh about 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, 20 years ago, before I was more on the internet. But I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, specifically like 15, 20 years ago. I used to listen a lot to Rush Limbaugh. I'm a liberal, I'm a Democrat. I listen to Rush Limbaugh because I wanted to hear what the other side thinks and because he's a very charismatic person. And I like to hear charismatic people talk. I feel the same way about Joe Rogan as I do about Rush Limbaugh. I disagree with Joe Rogan. I disagree with Rush Limbaugh. But I like to hear what people of differing opinions think. And Joe Rogan is also a comedian. He was a comedian many years before he had a podcast. And I've always listened to Joe Rogan's stand-up specials on Comedy Central. I've always known about Joe Rogan's stand-up specials. And I probably started listening to his YouTube podcast pretty early on, probably about 2012, 2013. I started to, listen to clips of Joe Rogan's podcast, and I've always disagreed with him. I've always thought he was too conservative, but I also think he's an interesting person. He has interesting guests. He has interesting things to say, and he's got one of the best podcasts on the internet. Joe Rogan has one of the best podcasts on the internet, in the same way Rush Limbaugh used to have one of the best radio shows in the country. Rush Limbaugh had a great radio show, even though I disagree with him, and Joe Rogan has a great podcast, even though I disagree with him. You understand what I'm saying, though, right? You can disagree with someone and still listen to them. You can still think someone is wrong or crazy and listen to them. Why? Because you can learn things from them. Anytime you can learn things from someone, you can still listen to them. Joe Rogan is a very funny person. He has a lot of good jokes. He's a very intelligent person, even though he's got a lot of wrong-headed ideas. He's a very intelligent person. I know a lot of people in real life like Joe Rogan, very smart people who are just a little more conservative. I also don't think Joe Rogan is a far-right conservative, like Rush Limbaugh was a far-right conservative. Joe Rogan is only slightly to the right of the spectrum. Because remember, he did vote for Bernie Sanders. So I don't think he's that far right, but I think Joe Rogan is a conservative. Because I think he's against any legislation to fight climate change. I think he's against progressive taxation. I think he's against, I don't know. But it more has to do with him being a comedian and him being against political correctness, and it's more about the transgender issues, and he just said a lot of sexist things. Well, he's built a career in comedy around saying sexist things, and that might have been funny in the 80s and the 90s or the early 2000s, but saying sexist things is not really funny anymore because our culture is becoming more sensitive, and we're trying to become better people. We're trying not to say offensive things as much as we used to 30 years ago because our culture is trying to progress forward. So comedy's going to the back burner, and comedy's, at least to me in particular, is becoming less popular than it used to be. And that's a good thing. There's other art forms that are more important than comedy, like poetry or prose or telling stories or movies or radio shows, or I think there's a lot of better things than comedy. I think comedy's going out the window a little bit, and a lot of people are depressed at that. But I think it's a good thing because what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? No. What's so funny about what's going on in the world today? The world has so many problems that I feel like there's nothing funny anywhere. I feel like trash, honestly. I feel like trash all the time, and very rarely do I feel in the mood to laugh, honestly, because I always feel like trash. I never feel like I'm in the mood for comedy. I know other people still like comedy, but my career and my life has gone so far downhill that I don't ever feel like I'm in the mood for comedy. Like when I was a teenager, I used to love to watch Comedy Central all the time. Reno 911, South Park, Family Guy, The Office, Parks and Recreation, 30 Rock. All those old movies from like Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller and Will Ferrell and all those Jim Carrey movies. I used to love comedy, but I don't like comedy anymore. So I'm not really the target market. I'm not really the target market for Joe Rogan. This video, I guess, is about Joe Rogan, but it says Joe Rogan Bad. I do watch clips of Joe Rogan, even though I know he's not politically correct. I do watch clips of Joe Rogan on YouTube, even though I know he's not politically correct, even though I know he says the wrong things, and I will disagree with him. But he's also very smart, and I agree with some of the things he says. And sometimes in life you listen to some people that you disagree with because you agree with some things, even if you don't agree with everything. I think that's all I have to say about it. Was there anything else? I disagree with Joe Rogan and a lot of what he says. I don't like how he's so fervently against, so fervently anti-LBGT. Why would someone be so fervently anti-LBGT in the year 2022? I don't know why. I don't know why he's so passionate about the transgender issue. Like, he's so passionate about being anti-transgender, and I have no idea why. I have no idea why he's so passionate about it. What is it about life that makes him want to put those people down so hard, push them down so much? I have no idea why he'd want that. So that's how I feel about Joe Rogan. I don't know why he's so conservative, but he is. I don't know why he's a Republican, but he is. I don't know why he's against mainstream Democrats, but will vote for Bernie Sanders. I have no idea why he's like that, but he is. I'll still watch his show. Sometimes I like when he has a musician on. Like, I like when he had Miley Cyrus on. That was a good episode. But I watch some full episodes on Spotify, and I watch a lot of clips on YouTube of Joe Rogan. Some full episodes on Spotify, some clips on YouTube. I disagree with a lot of what he has to say, but I agree with some things. But that's the way it is for a lot of people. A lot of people, you disagree with a lot of things, and you agree with some things. But he's an intelligent person, and sometimes there's not enough intelligent people with YouTube channels or Spotify things, and that's the way that is. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Joe Rogan is bad? So in summary, I think Joe Rogan is bad, but I also think he's okay at the same time. I think he's bad and I think he's okay. He's both bad and he's okay at the same time. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think Joe Rogan is bad? I do, but I don't totally. You know what I mean? He's a mixed bag. I disagree with him politically, and I think he's kind of a bad person, but not really that bad. He reminds me a lot of Rush Limbaugh, but he thinks he's edgier than Rush Limbaugh. He thinks he's more progressive than Rush Limbaugh. Maybe he is a little more progressive than Rush Limbaugh, but he reminds me of Rush Limbaugh. So that's just the impression I get from him. He's so conservative on so many issues, and he thinks he's not, but he is. So let me know in the comments below. Do you think Joe Rogan is bad like I do? Or confused like I do? Let me know in the comments below what you think about Joe Rogan. Please subscribe to this channel to be part of the community. And please like this video, it really helps the channel out a lot. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.